Hi, everybody. Welcome to another bonus episode of the Hoots Podcast, or the podcast that hoots. This has been a long time waiting to happen.
Wait a minute. Am I here?
Are you here?
What are we doing? What is this?
Before we
I'm back doing a podcast? Oh my goodness.
Ladies and gentlemen, the voice you hear right there is the velveteen tones of Patrick Fritz.
The soft, soothing tones.
Yes. Folks, welcome back to Catching Up With. This is our side project of the Hoots Podcast, where we reach out to good brothers and good sisters around the wrestling spectrum, and we have fun and just shoot the shit about the world of professional wrestling.
I want to stop you right there. Twitter, unblock the Hoots Podcast Twitter handle, please. Yes. Enough. It's the late great Owen Hart said, enough is enough, and it's time for a change.
Also, free Demon Diva as well.
Yes. Hashtag free Demon Diva. I saw you said that this morning.
It's so ridiculous. DMCA are so anal about sharing covers. Sorry that my guitar covers sound just as good as a record does. Give me a break, man.
It's ridiculous, dude.
Anyways, Patrick is a long time good brother of the Hoots Podcast, the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast back in the day.
Are we throwing it back that far, Sean? Sounds like we're throwing it back really far there.
I hated that name back then when we had when we first did the show with Adam. I hated using that name, but I had to keep my brand going after I left Wrestling Zone.
Yeah,
you have no idea how much I hated calling that the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast.
The Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast presented by Josh Lopez.
Right. Oh God. I hate
what the hell are we doing?
It's been a long time since we know each other, almost 6 to 7 years now, which is
I would say 6 or 7 years off and on. I mean, we don't have conversations like this, obviously.
Yeah.
We're talking off air before we came on for a little bit about our own personal backgrounds and everything, which I greatly appreciate you filling in some of the stuff about you, me filling in some of the stuff about me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's been long overdue. I know you've been hounding my ass about this, and I'm glad that we're able to.
I've been nudging here, and don't say hounding. I've been nudging here and there. Let's keep it honest here.
Yes.
One quick shout out to Sam, at Second City Sam. I was watching that episode this morning. I got through about half of it while I was doing some other things this morning. You two, and I said this to you off air, and I will say it again, officially on air. You two have a great chemistry. You two are both Chicago natives, obviously. Him, with the Cubs, and I love the fact that he trolled you with the Cubs hat. Yeah. And you with the White Sox and everything. So it's going to be fun to see this upcoming baseball season what happens with the two teams, and to see who gets the better of who.
Sam is the trip, man. I went to school with him for broadcasting, and he's really good at what he does. I wish he does more shows. Obviously, life gets in the way sometimes, but he's a good brother. And one of these days we'll have a round table thing. We'll have you and Sam on at the same time. That'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, that would be fun. Absolutely.
We got a good
maybe good brother. Derico too. Have another list of Derico.
Oh, yes. Are you on?
I've known. I'm sorry.
Are you on the list?
That's a good question. That is a good question. I don't know. I will have to ask him the next time you guys next week's episode, the big 250.
Yes.
By the way, congratulations on 250. By the way,
thank you. It's wild that we even reached past 100 with all these shows that are gone. No more.
But again, it's and I've said this to you, off air many a times. It's I think a testament to your work ethic. I think that, when you left WrestleZone and you started, the Josh Lopez podcast, and I will say it in that old man voice, forever. If you ever need a voiceover artist or anything, to do an intro, let me know. But, he, even when he was back at, his prior wrestling site that will rename nameless, I think I went on an episode of something with him, and when we did, Adam he had us on. Shout out to Adam Daly. Miss you, brother. Hope all is well with you. We've known each other off and on, not like personally, but we've professionally. I'll air quote that. We've known each other for a while, so it's always good to have good brothers to talk, to shoot the shit with and everything else, which has led us here today.
Yeah, and I always know it's always better to have good nuanced conversations with guys like you've known for even longer stretches of time.
Oh yeah.
Like that. It's like you don't miss a beat. Like we were talking about that before we went on air today. Just like that dynamic. Like, okay, maybe I haven't heard from somebody in 5 months. I talked to them. It's like we talked yesterday or the day before that.
Yeah. There's sometimes when I don't talk to people for weeks at a time, and then I reach out to them, and then we pick up a conversation like no time passed at all.
Right. So we are celebrating 250 episodes on Thursday, and I knew I wanted to center this and bring you guys in to pay it back and pay homage to you guys for the support for this particular show. I'm very proud of what the show represents, and I don't know if I would call it community because we don't have 50 people that we interact with all the time on social media, nor do I want to interact with 50 plus people on social media.
We'll call it a grouping. We'll call it a grouping right now. I think that's a more proper term.
I got a nice nucleus of good brothers to shoot the shit with about professional wrestling and life and sports and stuff. And what we have here over the last 5 years of this podcast alone, I'm very proud of what it represents and brings people together. And me and Sam talked about mental health on the show yesterday, and I've really been trying to help people with that and deal with depression.
That's important.
Or different
especially with everything going on in the last year plus in the world. With COVID and everything else, mental health is definitely a forefront in a lot of people's minds.
Absolutely. And I wanted this to always be an escape for somebody. Even if you listen to it for 5 minutes and you just need a quick laugh or whatever, that was always the goal for the show.
This episode's going to go in the tank then. Geez, I'm on here and now there's pressure. Now I got to be funny. Geez, thanks, Josh.
We are absolutely screwed, pal.
Yeah. How fast can we get Sam back on here?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Is good brother Jericho available? Can we get him on demand?
Yeah, we got to get Ronnie on speed dial too.
Right? Yeah, there we go.
So me and Patrick known each other for 6 years. Started off when I first started doing shows with Adam. During that time period, we also did a couple side projects on the side as well over the years. And I know you more than just a wrestling fan. I know you're really big into sports. We'll get into that in a little bit as well, and also about this life in general. And you're paying the compliment to me earlier. I want to pay the compliment to you because it's very rare in this field to have consistent people to support your type of content that you produce. No matter what changes come in, no matter what the situations are, to have your support for this particular show really means the world to myself and Brother Carter. And I know Adam felt that as well. Thank
you very much.
The show is not where it is today without guys like you and Sam and all the other people that support the show. Because
now I got to go get a box of tissues. Now you're gonna make me have a tear coming down my eye, man. I was not prepared for this. I'm sorry. I promised myself I would cry.
Right. I wanted to get your thoughts on a couple things regarding the wrestling media really quick to start this off. There's been a lot of video shows and podcasts that have left over the last 3 to 4 years, from Wrestle Reaction to Voices of Wrestling with Chris Cash and just a lot of other shows that we can mention right now. But I know you have always been a big advocate of professional wrestling and shows like this back then. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on the state of it now, the way the industry is covered, and just your overall views on how everything's going right now?
To me, I've been on a few different podcasts myself. As you called out to Adam before I was on, he and Ronnie and the wrestling with and with you wrestling with. I was on the NB show with Nick Bazzelli and Brian back in the day, and the spinoff that I was on the Brass Ring Club. So I was part of that for a little bit. I think right now, I think, and you and I have said this off air, I think life gets in the way. I think that with the state of things going on right now, and this is a testament again to you and the 250 episodes of your podcast, I think that when you find something that's passionate, something that you like doing, that there's nothing that can stop you. But I think nowadays, I think that there is a lot of like professional podcasts out there. I think, Bully Ray does one on Sirius. There's, like I said, there's yours. I think that it's good for a while, but then you have to step back and look and see, is this something that has a lot of longevity? I mean, you can speak to the longevity because you're at, over 5 years now.
Yeah.
Doing this kind of, media. But to me, I think that, it's, and to pull a Triple H line for a second, it's like, it's all about evolution. It's, you have to evolve your format. You have to make sure that you're still relevant in this day and age. And yes. I think that you are a prime example of that, because with the times, we've both, been in the age now where we've seen WCW die. We've seen TNA kind of come up, and it's like, it's like kind of like the redheaded stepchild of WWE in a way.
Yeah.
That became Impact. And now with AEW, who is now, basically the supposed challenger, I'm going to air quote that, to WWE, more appropriately NXT. I think it's, you have to evolve. And I think it's more, akin about what can you do to make yourself relevant this day and age. Like, anybody can hop on here and have a computer, have, a microphone, have, earbuds, and just get on and yak for, half hour, 45, 60 at a time.
Right.
But it's about the content. And you, I think, have some of the more original content, which is, again, speaks to your longevity. And I think it's more about, the relating to the current product. Like, what does everybody say about it? Is there good? Is there bad? It's also about experience. I myself have been watching mainly WWE. I've touched on a few others here and there. I'll be honest, I don't watch AEW worth shit. It's not worth. I'll be honest, it's not worth my time. I mean, if I wanted to watch, guys that, had their heyday in WWE, I'll just go on, the network, which now I get for free because I'm a Comcast subscriber and I have, the Peacock on there for free. So thank you. So thanks, Vince, for saving me $10 a month, which I find hilarious as hell that, the man spends $2 billion and now it's basically just, he's laughing all the way to the bank. Like his great grandchildren are going to be set now for the rest of their lives and they're not even born yet. But I think it's more about, to me, the content. And I think that just nowadays it's all about what can you do to keep yourself fresh. And, we have, the list of Derico, with, more specifically speaking to your podcast, what the hell is wrong with AEW, which is a fantastic freaking segment. And by the way, keep doing what you're doing with that, because that is like one of the best things you guys have going for you right now.
I appreciate that.
So to me, I've been watching WWF, and yes, I will call it WWF, fuck you. Since about like before WrestleMania 15. So I've been watching, WWF, WWE for, about 20 years now. I've seen, Hogan leave. I've seen, the rise of Stone Cold. I've seen the rise of The Rock. I've seen, Triple H, Michaels. The names go on and on and on. And now in this day and age, it's like, okay, who's going to be the person to carry it? And I think right now, the two men that are carrying it are Roman and Drew, believe it or not. I think you can have a smattering of other people in there, but I think you have eras defined by specific people.
Yes.
I think right now, I think Roman right now, more than Drew, is the person that is really carrying that currently. As we get into Mania.
you really touched on a lot of good points right there. I want to first start off with this. I know you don't believe it, but you have evolution. It's very important, especially being a content creator. I absolutely realized that, and I'm really glad that What the Hell Is Wrong with AEW has really resonated with a lot of people that do listen to the pod. I know referee Tony says that's his favorite part of the show as well. And, I think, this being the first time listener of the show, first time, long time, pal.
Yeah, right. There we go.
First time, long time. Always
to
go with.
Hey, now.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to say, when me and Adam first started doing the show, we made a promise to ourselves that we wanted to keep this fun, but also have a lot of comedy rooted into it.
Yeah.
And where I stand with AEW, and I feel like I'm validated to express my frustrations with it because I spend more time on AEW than the Sheep do on that they profess that they love about AEW. And for me, it's nothing personal, but I'm gonna have fun with it. There's times where I do let my real frustration, and sometimes you can hear that through the segment, but a lot of it's also rooted in comedy because I need something I don't want to get to the point where I'm apathetic. That's something you just don't want in podcasting, or you listen to any type of wrestling podcast, is just having apathy towards one company. It's not that serious to me. Not one company pays my bills. I'm very fortunate for the fact that I've been able to cover this industry indefinitely for the last 7 years. And I got to appreciate and study a lot of different styles and stuff. And some people don't even know that NXT UK is my favorite wrestling show right now. You would think
the way you, and I sorry to interrupt you for a second, the way that you actually go on and speak high praise about New Japan, I figured actually when I saw that you said that, my thought was really NXT UK? It's I really thought New Japan would be kind of more your wheelhouse, but so to speak. But
if I had to pick one company outside of WWE, it would be New Japan. Absolutely. Honestly, without that company, I would not be able to transcribe today's wrestling with the tumbling routines and 50 different names for simple moves. I've heard the Queen's Destroyer, the Canadian Destroyer, the Yoshi Tonic, whatever the fuck it's called, that Excalibur says sometimes on AEW. I have too many wrestling moves stuck in this brain threshold right now. But it's really interesting because taking a step back here, kind of look at this from a bigger picture point of view. I don't know what wrestling fans in 2021 want out of their certain shows. If you just gauge it on Twitter, I just feel like everybody just wants one wrestling show to be booked the same way as other shows.
Yeah.
And where I stand.
They want familiarity.
Right.
I can talk. To me, I see, and this is my own personal thing. I grew up with, there's faces and heels.
Yes.
There's, a straight, a straight line down the middle. The faces, the faces are the good guys. The faces, win. They beat the heels. Once in a while, the heels will pull one over. And to me, now you have, and I have to really speak towards if I had to use Raw as an example, Bobby Lashley right now, because to me, the last few months, he's been presented as a heel. So when he came out after Elimination Chamber, he beat down Drew. I was like, oh, okay, we're going there with this now. It's okay. Bobby's, throwing himself in the mix to be, he wants after the title. And then Miz came out, Miz cashed, which please do not start me on that hot garbage, because I would have rather seen a failed Otis cash in than Miz running with that briefcase forever. But then it's okay, Miz and Lashley for the title. So then I was like, okay, are we having a week where it's Lashley's the face? Is Lashley a tween right now? Is he in between? And I even put this out after Lashley won the title. I was like, please, for the love of God, give me something with Roman and Bobby. Please. I don't care. Have it be like a backstage blow off. I don't give a fuck. I need it in my life right now. Because I would love to see Paul Heyman and MVP on the mic back and forth against one another for even if it was just a segment. I mean, granted, it's never going to happen, unless they, one of them switches brands, which, crazier things have happened. But to me, I like where at least the WWE title picture is right now, although I still hate the fact that Drew comes out and basically points to Lashley and says, I want you at Mania. Okay, boom, done. Like, I'm sorry. I thought, we weren't getting automatic title rematches anymore. Like, I thought you had to earn your title matches, which is why, and I said this to you the other day on Twitter. I said, I love the fact that Sheamus Drew has a stip, and it's no holds barred now, which is, basically a glorified no DQ, blah, blah.
That's going to be a good match.
It is going to be a good match. To me, have the stipulation, no holds barred, winner gets Lashley at Mania. Like this, they've been touting that this is, remember when tout was a thing? They've been touting that this is the final stop on the road to WrestleMania. So granted, we have if the universal title match does not end on, tomorrow night, I'll be shocked. Because quite honestly, that's your bread and butter right now, because you have Edge as the, Rumble winner, the enforcer now after, he won last night. That has to end it. But where is Lashley anywhere on the card tomorrow? He's not. He's, your secondary champion. I mean, I'm gonna label it like that because they push Roman to the moon right now. But he's your secondary champion, and yet you don't have him on the pay-per-view at all. That's disrespectful to me. You're making it about all the titles. You're making it about what's your WrestleMania main event. WrestleMania is 2 days this year. Again, for the second consecutive year, because of COVID, it's 2 years. So or 2 days, I'm sorry. What is going to be, the main events? The main events should be your heavyweight title matches. And right now it's looking like SmackDown is the benefactor, because you have Bianca Belair going after Sasha, which is going to be and you said this yourself, it's going to be a barn burner of a match. It's going to steal the show, whatever night it's on. And then you have Roman and Edge, which, is also, I feel is not going to probably be a super long match, but it should be a match that shows that Edge can still go in the ring, and that, I just think it's going to be a good quality match. And then you have filler for everything else.
It's interesting, Pat. I wish I brought this up on the show this week, but I feel with the both title pictures from both Raw and SmackDown are just I won't say they're lost in the shuffle of things, but a lot of people are like, oh my God, when we're actually going to start to build towards WrestleMania. For me, I agree with that, but I don't think you need to have 2 shows after the Rumble before WrestleMania. I don't think that's the case. Yes. But also, I also balance the fact that I'm not losing sleep over the fact that the only reason why they're doing this show is because it's on Peacock. What's already been where WrestleMania build has already been started since the Rumble. Everything with the Elimination Chamber and Fastlane, in my opinion, is all window dressing. So whatever happens tomorrow, I don't think has any bearings on what's going to happen with these shows. So when you look at the title matches, I agree to you to a certain extent that there could have been a different story as to how to get Drew back into that title match with Bobby Lashley than just be like, oh, I'm here, let me get a title shot. Yeah. But
it reminds, sorry to interrupt again, it reminds me of when Undertaker won the Rumble. He came out, I think it was 2 weeks after the Rumble. He came out. You had Lashley, who was ECW champion at the time. You had Batista, who was World Heavyweight Champion at the time. You had Cena, who was WWE Champion at the time. I want to say it was WrestleMania 20. It was right before 2023, I think it was, because that was the one at Ford Field. Yeah, it was right before Mania 23. Mm-hmm. Taker walked all three champions. He stepped back in front of Batista. He gave him, the ugh. And then, he picked. And then 5 minutes later, Michaels came out and said, okay, Taker made his choice. I'm coming out. Cena, I challenge you. And that to me was just goddamn stupid. Like what at that point did, and granted it was a great match. I mean, it ended Mania that year.
Yeah.
But to me, what had Michaels done at that point outside of being the second to last person in the Rumble to earn the right to challenge Cena? I mean, also the fact that the two of them, I think for one of only like 2 or 3 times in Mania history, were co-Raw Tag Team Champions going into the main event. Right. And neither of them, and here's the other funny thing that nobody I don't think passes over. Neither one of them walked out with the Tag Team Championship belt when they went to the ring for that match.
Well, also, I can throw this at you. What has Daniel Bryan done to earn another title opportunity for tomorrow?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the only thing he did
is feel sorry for himself.
Well, that, I mean, he felt sorry for himself, but I think that, him winning the Chamber kind of gives him like the chip on his shoulder. Him winning against, Jay in the Steel Cage, again, another chip on the shoulder.
Yeah.
To me, and again, to your point, I think that, you have Rumble. I think you have maybe Elimination Chamber 3 or 4 weeks after Rumble. Whoever the Rumble winner is, you have them pick their match by the time Elimination Chamber comes out.
Right.
Then you have, a chamber match for one of the titles, or, number one contendership for the other title that's not being defended at, or that the Rumble winner doesn't pick at Mania. So in this point, since Edge had picked Roman, you figured that was, the Drew winning the, WWE Championship Chamber, okay, Lashley comes out, Miz, blah, 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 blah. But to me, the way that Roman's character is working right now is both great and it sucks at the same time. It's great because this is some of the best work that he's done in his career. And even with Heyman, like he's just that Godfather-esque character in the background. And he's just like, okay, this is my, empire. This is my table. I'm the head of the table. Like I am, basically telling you how things are going to be. You are not going to rise up against me without a fight. And that's what I love about his character, is the fact that he has, the parrot on his shoulder and Heyman, which I think this is a great pairing of him and Heyman. But to me, it was like, okay, this is beginning to get a little long in the tooth, but I really don't see Edge taking the belt off of Roman at Mania. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see it happening. Not that Roman really needs to go over on anybody else right now, because there's not really anybody else you can build up to challenge him right now.
Right. I want to go back to the Raw top pitch really quick, because I've been kind of in this juggling act, because I don't get the fickle hate towards Drew McIntyre now that I'm seeing on Twitter every week. I don't get that.
I don't get it either.
I'm not going to waste energy trying to understand it. I just think it's kind of ridiculous that Drew McIntyre is now, according to wrestling Twitter, in the same position that Seth Rollins was last year, where they don't even want him on the card. Oh, he shouldn't have a big match at WrestleMania. I think it's kind of stupid, to be honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's the same audience. They're like, oh, Drew McIntyre has to beat Brock Lesnar at last year's WrestleMania. COVID, everything gets in the way, dampens the mood of everything that goes on. But how's that a bad reflection on him? It's not the company's fault. It's not his fault. You got to adapt with the situation that comes to you.
I think, and this is something that I've felt a very long time, I really feel, and my personal stance on the man is he's not going to step away from this business until he puts, a foot in the grave. I think Vince needs to really think about getting away from the business right now. I don't know if he's out of touch. I don't want to call him out of touch because, I'm just a fan, but, he could give, 2 Fs about what I say. But I feel like Drew right now, Drew has earned his spot. He's he was the chosen one when he did his first run. He went away. He did, other promotions. He came back. He's, fit as all anything. He can speak on the mic. He has the ability. I mean, I agree with you, the fact that I don't understand the hate for him at all. I think that he can be a great, title holder. He has been. I mean, he did beat Brock. They threw a number of credible challengers in his way. I mean, I liked the program with him and Orton before Orton, went off to fight The Fiend. And I just want to say, for, a side note, Alexa Bliss, not only the fact that I can't question her decision to get engaged to Ryan Cabrera because whatever, but she is killing it with her freaking character right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely killing it. Looks amazing doing it. And that is probably going to be the one thing that I can't wait for tomorrow night, is to see what the resolution is, because I'm sure it's something with bringing Bray Wyatt back. And I've been salivating, waiting to see what happens with this, because I was thinking it was going to be another Firefly Funhouse match or some sort of Funhouse shenanigans. But, I mean, that's one of the other things that I can't wait and see. And again, kudos to, another side note, kudos to Randy Orton for being like the workhorse this year, from, putting Drew over to sliding into this program with Bray Wyatt and Alexa and just running that, taking the ball and running with it, and just being, the guy that's the workhorse right now. I mean, I would love to see, as much as I would love to see another Orton title run, which, to me, he kind of deserves it at this point.
Yeah.
I don't really see what happens for Randy at Mania this year. I think maybe it's another match against Bray, but I don't know. But I don't think that the hate against Drew is valid right now, because he's proven his worth. He's definitely an upper mid-card / main event guy by this point in time. I mean, he spent all of 2020 in the main event picture because he was the champion. But I think the main reason they took the belt off him is to have him win it back in front of a crowd.
Right. And I don't see what the problem is with that. Lashley winning the title is the accomplishment. Okay, him beating Drew at WrestleMania, you just shrug your shoulders and be like, okay, what's next now, right?
Yeah.
Like you look at that match, and I've seen them do awesome stuff on Impact that cover a lot of their matches on pay-per-view. They had a really good rivalry in Impact. I have no doubt that these two could have a kick-ass world title match at WrestleMania. But it's different reactions to, okay, Bobby Lashley beats Drew McIntyre. Are you even more excited for Lashley after that, or are you waiting for what's next? And then if Drew McIntyre beats Lashley, and you're one of these fickle people that hate Drew McIntyre, they're getting a reaction out of you. That's the thing. That's the thing with storytelling.
It's what it's all about. It's about the reaction. It's about, and that gets you talking. And that's what the more important thing for Vince and them is, because they want to get the most bang for their buck, and they want to get the people talking. And that's everything that they always look for, is what can get me the biggest reaction out of people. And I think that's one of the things, getting back to Orton and Alexa really quick, is the fact that one of the reasons why she's been doing so well is because she's been getting that reaction. Everybody's like, oh, I can't wait to see what happens. I can't wait to see what happens. And, I want to say kudos, first of all, kudos to Lashley, because the guy has, before this, I think the only, decent title he had was the ECW title. I mean, he's had a United States title, but that's on, Riddle right now, which is just a joke. And I think it's
Binks.
Whoa, man, like, it's the New Day, man. They're going to be 11-time tag champions, man. Like, whoa.
I'm chuckling now because I knew Adam hated Jar Jar Binks. Like bring stuff back in the day, buddy. I want to really touch really quick on the Braid Randy stuff. I want to tie both this with the Raw title picture. One thing I don't think people are actually mentioning enough is the fact that there's like 4 entities in this title picture. for whatever reason, we continue to see John Morrison and The Miz attached to these segments with Drew McIntyre and Lashley. So you're not really understanding where the direction's going. But here's the thing. It could be just Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley, or you could make it a 4-way. Because the story is there. You have Sheamus continually come out and trying to bring Drew McIntyre chance to get his title back. You have Lashley, who's basically invisible right now. You have The Miz, who's like so stuck up his ass, like he's so obsessed with getting back to the title picture. I don't think Miz is going to get the title shot at WrestleMania, but if you wanted to do a 4-way, you have a reason, and they had a story behind it. It's different to every WrestleMania season where, I don't like the Rumble winner, so let's do a triple threat match. Like, it's a little different parameters here. That's why I'm so against Daniel Bryan, this whole stuff with him and Edge, because you're not going to top the moment that Daniel Bryan had as a babyface at WrestleMania 30. It's just not the same. And, and
he was on the other side of that picture a few years ago when he lost the belt to Kofi. And Kofi had his moment.
And they stole the show, and he was a heel.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then I love the fact that, Kofi held on to it for a number of months and then lost it in like 10 seconds to Lesnar on the premiere of SmackDown. As soon as I saw that was announced, I was like, oh, well, RIP Kofi's title reign. And I figured, okay, maybe it's like, 5-10 minute match, like 30 seconds later. I'm like, wow, they did Kofi like that. I'm like, wow.
Dude, I was at Adam's house that weekend for the SmackDown 1000. Yeah. It was also the Hell in a Cell where Seth Rollins and Bray Wyatt had their Hell in a Cell match that weekend.
Yeah.
We had a good couple laughs out of that. But let's move on to something else really quick regarding WrestleMania. I don't want to keep too much on WWE, but you brought a great point with Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss. One of the cool things about like having different ways to analyze certain wrestling promotions where they want to emphasize on wrestling more on New Japan and AEW. With WWE, you could kind of talk about the different aspects and creative and characters and storyline developments. I think that's kind of cool. For me personally, Pat, I don't need every wrestling promotion to be presented or booked the same way. That's just how I look at it. And I love everything you said about Alexa Bliss. I totally agree with you. I'm very curious to see what Randy Orton says on the Steve Austin podcast, because that could paint a picture of where his head is right now with his career. So I'm very curious to see what he says about that. I loved his stuff with Edge going into last year's WrestleMania. As far as MVP of the pandemic era, in my opinion, it's definitely Randy Orton. Outside of Roman Reigns coming back in the second half of the year, but Randy Orton is doing some of his best work right now. The fact that Alexa Bliss has been able to keep this feud going on for the last 3 months while Bray has been off of TV is a testament to how good that character is. We could all analyze wrestling and be like, oh, if you don't have this certain amount of moveset, you're really not that great. There's a difference between the Sasha Bankses of the world and Alexa Blisses of the world. You hear her character, you hear her cut her promos. Is she Ricky Steamboat in the ring? No, she doesn't have to be. I think we can kind of misguide it in that way where, this guy has a million moves like Ricochet, but his personality is generic as Times New Roman font.
That's a good analogy, actually.
So I could, you hit the nail on the head with the stuff with the Phoenix. So I'm really curious to see how they play that out tomorrow night. That should be interesting. Yeah. But, this week on TV, I thought we're starting to see a little more layers of what the undercard matches are going to be at WrestleMania, with it being a 2-night show. Saw that last night. Yeah, I know Big E and Apollo are having their match tomorrow on the Fastlane, but I think they'll finish their feud at WrestleMania. I think the U.S. title may go into a ladder match.
I'm thinking maybe a multi-person match, maybe a fatal 4-way, or maybe even a gauntlet match or something. But you could be right. I mean, they could throw a multi-person in a ladder match or something, and that could be something.
One thing I loved from SmackDown last night was the stuff with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Him being added to the conspiracy stuff, I think is really good, especially for what KO just went through with Roman Reigns. Him and Sami having a one-on-one match at WrestleMania is fine by me. I think I don't think
they have. I mean, they have enough history that you don't really have to build that up that much. I mean, they've been they've been friends together. They've fought as a tag team. They fought against each other. In both main card level and even in NXT.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like that's what I appreciate about WrestleMania cards in the past, where like, okay, on paper you wouldn't think, oh, this is like a WrestleMania worthy match, but these guys have history with each other, and they'll make it something out of it. Like you look at like Kurt Angle and Benoit from 17, or I can come up with
that was a crazy match. Yeah,
that was a great match. Yes,
Mania 17 will always be one of my favorites. I think just because. That was like turning a corner. That was like the solidification of like Stone Cold and The Rock being like the two guys of that era.
Yeah, look at grudge matches like Seth Rollins and Randy Orton from WrestleMania 31. That was one of my favorite matches of the show.
That was the one where Orton did that was when Seth cashed that night, right, and then became champ.
Yeah.
Oh, that match with Orton and Seth is one of my favorites, just because of the way it ended. Just with Seth going for the stomp, and then he jumped up, and then Orton, boom with the RKO.
That was the coolest move I've ever seen.
Yes,
for a wrestling show. Let's touch a little bit on AEW. Not a lot because I know you're not watching it. You don't have a reason, but I just want to get to your reason why. Because if you read social media, they're like God's gift to wrestling. And I don't need to expand my thoughts, but I want to get your thoughts on what's going on there.
So to me, I mean, I want to give them, Cody, Young Bucks, everybody associated with that promotion, I want to give them credit for going out and doing something on their own. I think that them attempting and to build a promotion, try to give other people who are not getting represented on main WWE, NXT, a chance. I kudos to them. They got like Kenny Omega, they got John Moxley, Matt Hardy, now Paul White, and Christian Cage. To me, that reads like a listing of WWE has-beens. I think that right there is my biggest problem with that, is that they are WWE light. And to me, there is not enough. And I mean, again, there's like, I've seen a lot on wrestling media this week with the praise with the female. I forget. I want to say it's Thunder Rosa and somebody else.
Britt Baker. Yeah.
Yeah. Britt Baker about their match, their blood match this week. That was like one of the best female matches, in any promotion this year so far. And to me, I just feel like AEW is WWE light, and I don't need to see, these guys didn't bring to me a lot to the table when they were, in WWE, which is fine, but I don't need to see that and just feel comfortable with that. I mean, I want to give them credit for doing the tributes with Brody Lee and everything. So to me, I just feel like it's not as high definition of what it could be.
I think the frustrating thing is to what you said about it being WWE light, and the odd thing is that when they had their initial press conference, they said they're going to do everything opposite of that.
Exactly.
When you call yourself All Elite Wrestling, yet you are scared by elite standards, and you have all the answers to everything that's wrong with WWE, yet you act like the same way the stuff they do, that's the reason why I call them out on it. Like to say you have All Elite Wrestling, yet you present the same crowd that I could see at a bingo hall, the same stuff I could see in Ring of Honor, the same concepts I could see for New Japan. There's no identity.
So yeah, absolutely. Or if you're one of the co-founders and you happen to take a big humongous prop and smash it with an axe or something, Triple H's throne chair. But to me, even the barbed wire death match just was like ridiculous in the fact that they basically wanted to like throw something together, and it was like they hyped it up so much, and then the ending was what a little bit of pyrotechnics. I mean, it was just ridiculous, and just to even see all the memes and everything else that got made from that is just in and of itself crazy.
Yeah. It's I think my anger and frustration started when they did like that dinner like Broadway thing with Chris Jericho and MJF. I'm like, really? This is sports-based wrestling where I'm still keeping up with the wins and loss records where I put in the transcript. Like, come on, guys. Like, what are we doing here? Speaking of sports, let's wrap this up with this. We'll have a nice little conversation about sports before we head out here, right?
Okay.
So I know we're in the midst of NFL free agency. We're in week 1. There's been a lot of movement, obviously. It's kind of sad that my team's being looked at as a put that down. It's a bummer that my team's being like treated like a freaking laughing stock. I mean, in the city, we can recognize what's going on with the football team here, but your team's been loading up and spending more money this offseason. I know there's been a lot of debate.
They decided to break the piggy bank open, apparently, this free agency because for those of you that do follow me on social media, I am a New England Patriots fan. I have been very, 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 very fortunate in my tenure to see the rise of one Tom Brady, as the backup to Drew Bledsoe, and what has happened for the number of years that the Patriots have had his services. And unfortunately, he's elsewhere now, and I'm really upset about that. But that's another conversation for another time. But going into last season, my expectations were the team was going to be 10-6. Maybe they'll be in like second or third place with a wild card berth. Maybe something will happen. Mm-hmm. And then Cam Newton happened. And then everything went. They did not make the playoffs, to the chagrin of myself and the praise of a lot of other people in the AFC East who I'm friends with who are fans of those teams. But fortunately, they're looking like they're rebuilding for the future, and just to see what happens next season, which I think is going to be a very interesting season because the Bucks are coming to New England this upcoming season, which is going to be probably, if it's not already, it's going to be flexed into Sunday Night Football. I'm pretty much sure it's going to be happening. So we'll see what happens with that.
I can't even picture the number of people that are going to watch that game. That's probably going to be like 20 million or so.
Oh, it's probably going to – I'm not going to say it's going to break any records or anything, but I think it's going to be interesting to see what – and I don't know if I'll be able to get tickets. I would love to go see that game because I've been fortunate to go to Gillette Stadium and see a few games there, and it's an amazing place to go. And last time I went there, I went with my dad, who is unfortunately a fan of an enemy of one of your teams.
Is he a Packer fan?
Green Bay. Excuse me. So I walked through the Patriots Hall of Fame there. It's just amazing to see like how the team came to be. Robert Kraft, buying the team and just all the memorabilia and just everything that's been there. And it's one of the great, experiences of my life so far in my fandom.
There's been like a lot of movement, and there's been also some debates too about like some people are happy that Cam Newton's back, some people are not. I don't know where you are in that situation.
I'm indifferent about it, quite honestly. I mean, to me, if you're going to take as you and Sam were saying yesterday, to me, if you're going to get a quarterback for the future. And I mean, to the level of like Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, and my God, if he stays healthy and he stays with the statistical lines that he's had, my God, is Kansas City going to make deep playoff runs for the next decade? Right. But to me, I think you draft somebody for the future. You draft somebody that you want to see as the guy that you want back there leading your offense for at least 5, 6, 7 years at a time. I mean, it's crazy that Brady has had the longevity that he's had. But, with football nowadays, I think it's just the fact that you have a couple, you have position players that are good for only a handful of years at a time. And I think it's just amazing that, they're getting these guys on 2, 3, 4 year contracts. because now it's basically like, okay, I'm going to open the piggy bank. I'm going to, spread all the money around, and I'm going to basically hope to buy myself a title, which I don't, my personal feeling has always been this. You pay, my personal feelings are athletes, as gifted as some of them are, and I'm never going to take anything away from them, because I have, barely an athletic bone in my body. But I think that you pay everybody a base salary. And then I think based on their statistical lines from the season, you back pay them a certain amount of money. You give them bonuses. You give them incentives. Basically, if you win a Super Bowl, you get, X amount of money. If you make, top 3 of your position, you get X amount of money. If you have, if you're quarterback, you have, your touchdown interception ratio is like better than 4-1 or 5-1 or whatever. You get an extra bit of money. You give these guys incentives to go on the field and put 100%, 110%, even more out every single week. And that's how you get a really good, teams. You don't get these guys that are like whining in the offseason. Oh, well, I want a new contract. I want to be, the top paid player at my position because I can do this, I can do that. Go out on the field and prove it, damn it.
Right.
Don't be on a team that's like 2-14. Be on a team that's like 10-6, 11-5. Be the top corner, or be the top safety, or be the top running back at your position. Go out there and prove your worth.
Exactly. Have there been moves that you liked from different teams, or moves you haven't liked so far?
I understand Brady and Gronk re-signing with Tampa. I mean, obviously they wanted to lock them up as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I actually, as chagrined to me, being my history with them as far as being members of the Patriots organization go, I think that's a smart move for Tampa Bay. I think that if you're going to repeat as champions, or if you're going to have a strong chance to defend your championship, I think you lock up the pieces that, got you there. I think that to me, I don't understand a lot of the hirings and firings of a lot of the backstage people, so to speak, as in like the team, the GMs, the owners, and everything else. I think it's just kind of crazy about what you could go in there. You could have a coach sign a 3-year deal, and then he gets in and then has a 6-10 season, and then all of a sudden the management's like, okay, bye, you're done. Like, right. Like how is that helping anything? If you try and change the culture of your team so much in a short amount of time, then you're not really doing yourself a service.
I'm very curious to see how the rest of this second wave of free agency goes, because it really opens my eyes, like how shitty the wide receivers are being treated. Like Kenny Galladay is still out there. There's still a lot of decent. I'm not saying anybody that's like a Pro Bowl wide receiver out there, but still, you have quality people out there that can help out teams that need more offense and shit. And I don't know what my team's doing. I don't know if I don't know if there's like a contract extension.
You and Sam touched on a lot of the Bear stuff yesterday, and I mean, one thing is, you guys said it yesterday that Chicago was the second biggest market for the NFL, and it's like what in the blue hell are they doing? They have, to me, and this has always been the case the last number of years. I figure the NFC North is usually the Packers or the Lions to lose. And then it seems like, you get a quarter or third of the way in the season. And it's like, okay, well, here's, you're all tied or you're within a game of one another. And then all of a sudden the Bears start to have like a really bad bad second half of the season. They take themselves out of the conversation. Vikings, they take themselves out of the conversation. And then it's usually like a 2-horse race with the Packers and the Lions.
It's just frustrating. And I think that not only just the team, the city doesn't know what to evaluate or how to evaluate what is a sustainable success. Like, regardless of how anybody feels about Mr. Trubisky, like I'm not going to hide from the fact that I do support this dude. I mentioned it to Sam yesterday that the national media were laughing over the trade the night he got drafted. The poor dude went to a Bulls game with his family. The next night he got booed out of the building. Like, I've been rooting for this dude nonstop. And like, whether I think he's the great thing or whatever, I've seen a lot worse, in my opinion. Do I think Mitch is the worst quarterback in the NFL? No. Am I going to come in here and tell you he's the top 10 or 15 or anything like that? No. But for what the barometer of what's acceptable in this city as far as good quarterback play, they don't even know how to acknowledge it. I said it yesterday. Like, we wouldn't know a good quarterback if it slapped us in the face. I'm just being honest. Like, we wouldn't know what a good quarterback.
And I mean, the funny thing is, I live in New Jersey, and we have two teams that play in New Jersey, even though they're called New York. But you look at Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones, who are the respective quarterbacks recently of aforementioned teams, and this area has not since Eli Manning has not seen a respectable quarterback go for very long. And I mean, Eli around here, as far as Giants fans go, is a godsend because he brought them 2 titles. Granted, It was against New England. Ruined the perfect season, but I'm not bitter, not at all.
You good?
Yeah. But I mean, it's amazing to me that. And this is, again, why I give credit to Brady. Brady has his own personal preference of he takes less money so that the team has more money to give players to build around him. Exactly. Now, you look at Patrick Mahomes. He maxes out his contract. It's worth $500 million. $1 billion with a B. Mm-hmm. You look at Dak Prescott. My God, 100. I think it was 126 of his 140 is guaranteed.
Yeah,
like my God.
Trent Williams got $168 million as an offensive tackle. Think about that
again, and this goes back to my point about base salary. Back pay them bonuses for statistics, for time played, number of snaps you do, whatever it is. Like, to me, all due respect to Dak Prescott, it's the the old song, "What have you done for me lately?" If he had deep runs in the playoffs, if he had division multiple division titles, if he had winning seasons, mm-hmm. back to back, you give me 11-win season, 12-win season. You're the NFC East. You're making, you get a bye. You're a 2 seed. I mean, obviously now with the playoff structure change, you have to be a 1 seed now to get a bye. But you make deep playoff runs. You're in the divisional round, the championship game. Yeah, okay, an argument can be made. But honestly, $126 million for like what? No Super Bowl appearances.
Right.
Like no. Correct me if I'm wrong, but no championship game appearances.
No, not one. It's
scratching my head. I'm scratching my head.
Well, Jerry World may have a nice looking stadium to himself, but his football team is not a reflection of what the venue.
No, absolutely not. And I mean, it's great for hosting a WrestleMania. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad that they were able to get to AT&T Stadium and host WrestleMania. And I mean, that seems to be the thing now, is the fact that with any new big stadium, like that's an immediate target for Vince, and basically like getting Mania there to set the attendance record, because, he has to have everything he ever wants, because, he's running one of the biggest empires ever.
He put in the work to get to that point too, so I can understand why he wants to break attendance records. It'd be a little different if you just grew up of influence. Like I get it, his like generation and stuff with his dad, and he gave the territory to him. But let's not forget the first half of his life he was in North Carolina scrapping for what he wanted.
I mean, this is true.
So, like, everybody knows Vince McMahon is flawed, but he's also worked for where he is right now.
He has. I will give his work ethic and what he's built and everything. I will not take a single thing away from him in that respect.
Right. let's wrap this up with the sports stuff right here. I gotta tell you, man, just look at the league right now. They're putting a lot of pressure on Kyler Murray right now with all the people they brought into that team and Cliff Kingsbury. I'm curious to see what's going to happen there with the NFC West. It looks like that's going to be a bloodbath. Either Sean McVay is going to be on the hot seat or not, whether this Matthew Stafford thing works out, because this dude doesn't care about any draft picks.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny to me because I think of Matthew Stafford in the realm of it's kind of similar to make a comparison. It's kind of similar with WWE when we talk about like the main event level guys, the mid card guys, and kind of just like, the I'm sorry, who are you guys? And it's Matthew Stafford to me is in the mid card. He joins guys like Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan, a guy like like Tom Brady. Tom Brady I consider main event level because he's proven himself. He's got 7 rings.
He's Matthew Stafford's like the Donovan McNabb of this era, just without the appearances in the Super Bowl.
That's a very good comparison. I like that comparison.
Yes, I'm sorry, Matt, if you're listening.
Not sorry.
The Colts they have this philosophy. They don't want to spend big on free agency, yet their big get this season is Carson Wentz. So we got to see if that works out. As far as him being a head case or not, I don't know what's true, what's not, but obviously the things with Philadelphia got really petty towards the end, and you hate to see that in sports too. So, I'm just very excited to see what happens next with this next wave. Like, I know Antonio Brown, I think he might go back to the Bucs most likely. I'll be honest with you, I'm really happy for Mitch to go to Buffalo because he has a really good offensive guy he can learn from instead of a guy who pretends that he's an offensive genius. Just because he has a Denny-style play sheet does not mean you're a good offensive mind. So him going with Brian Daboll and
had to mention Buffalo, huh? You had to do it. No, I'm a New England fan. You had to do it.
Hey, you flaunt the shirt, man. It is.
Well, this is true. I own my fandom. As embarrassing as this last season was, but I again, with the number of winning seasons and everything I've gone through with, the Patriots over the course of the last decade and a half, I can't shake my head at a losing season.
No, you can't. I mean, you can only go up from here, right? I mean,
very true. Well,
you guys
I could be a Jaguars fan.
Yeah, you could be a Lions fan where you're eating kneecaps and fuck the new coach wants to do it. It's like the guy's trying to be an indie wrestler for the 90s. Like, I don't know what's going on there. But Pat, man, I want to thank you a lot, man, for
thank you. Thank you for having me on, man. I greatly appreciate it. It's great to be on here and do this again.
We'll definitely do this again soon, especially.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I want you to tell people where they can find you on social media and what you got going on as far as future is concerned.
Future right now, probably just guest hosting things like this with you, and maybe again in the future. I am on Twitter as my handle is right down there @ratedpwf. I talk a lot about social about WWE, about football, about just life in general.
Yes, make sure to follow him at Twitter. He has some good movie quotes. Sarcasm is a pre-warner before you follow him on Twitter. It's up to you to gauge on what's real and what's not, and we go from there. But Pat, man,
and get this reinstated Twitter up here. This at Twitter handle right here. Get this reinstated. Stat.
Yeah, I miss not having the non-filter aspect of the Hoots.
I was about to say, that's kind of your cover a little bit, right?
Yeah, that was the goal because I was thinking about making one just specifically for like the transfers and media stuff, and then I had my own personal one. So the fact that it went down like that is so shitty, man. It still bothers me, but like, whatever. Twitter's gonna be an asshole. That's what it is. It's accessible for miserable people and a social media site that's trigger happy to suspend people over. Yeah. Hey, you could share a full scene of a movie and a porno, a licensed movie or porno, but God forbid you play 30 seconds of a song on
exactly.
It's ridiculous. But Pat, as always, we'll do this again soon. I appreciate the support over the last 5 years and just in general.
Happy to do it, man. Happy to do it.
Yeah, the conversation we had before we went on air was really good too as well. So make sure to follow Pat on Twitter at RatedPWF. You will not regret it. Also on Instagram is too, right?
Same handle there too.
All right, cool. I'm at Josh Lopez Media. You can follow me there as well. Make sure to bookmark ProWrestlingTranscripts.com. I'm finishing up the New Japan Cup tomorrow morning. 13 shows.
You are hashtag no sleep over there, sir. Let me tell you that right now, because you just every time I get ready for work in the morning. We're talking about like 4:30 a.m. in the morning. This guy. Oh, you point in the right direction. There we go. This guy over here is transcribing the hell out of stuff, and it's just amazing how many transcribed links that go up on his social like every day. There's at least 2 or 3.
I cover around 14 shows a week, ladies.
I was about to say you're doing you're doing crazy amounts of work, man. It's greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I do it for all you guys. That's the goal, and I'll be honest with you. I don't think I would keep up with the schedule if I was married or having kids right now. I probably would not be able to do it.
you'd be drinking Red Bulls and everything else like crazy.
Yes, remember, folks, I am straight edge. I do not drink, so
I'm sorry.
I not go down there. So, all right, for the one and only Patrick Fritz, I'm Josh. You have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Enjoy Fastlane. We'll be back here to celebrate the big episode 250 of the Hoots Podcast. As I unpack here, and I'll send this out to everybody, I want to have the biggest edition of the Q&A session. Yeah, we'll review the shows and stuff like that and have the What the Hell is Wrong segment, but I really want it to be a celebration for you guys for supporting this show. So ask as many amount of questions you want for the Good Brothers Q&A session. All you have to do is hit me up on Twitter at Josh Lopez Media or at Josh Lopez. Not my bad. It's the Hoots Podcast at gmail.com if you want to send it there as well. There's no limit on the amount of questions you ask. You ask me about wrestling. You talk about relationships. I'll talk about anything. But reach out to your boy. I want to give back to you guys and go big with this episode 250. So I love you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll talk to you later. Yes, sir.